This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Welcome back to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with your host, David Charlton. And today's episode is very similar to last week, where we look into what a successful entrepreneurial mindset looks like. We also discuss sport and lessons that the business person can take, and again, vice versa. We end up talking about goal setting, about an aggressive, relentless entrepreneurial mindset. We talk about death too. So the guest, Christina Flach, sadly has lost her son, her mother, and late husband, who was a former Wimbledon champion. So we discuss bouncing back from those types of difficulties, as well as a whole lot more. Hi, Christina. So it's great to have you on the show. Would you be able to explain to the listeners a little bit more about your background and your entrepreneurial interests?
Of course. Thank you for having me. Good morning. So I am Christina Flach. I am the founder and CEO of Pretty Girl Makeup. I am also a celebrity makeup artist. And I am very blessed to have kind of two careers that simultaneously flow together. So
Excellent.
That's what I do.
And off air, we were talking there about sport and I suppose some of the traits that a top professional in sport would have. Do you want to expand on that and also link that to, entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think that sports and business go hand in hand. I think that I just was listening to this kind of a documentary about how CEOs that run companies are basically, you're a professional athlete that you have a business span, a career that's 30 years instead of a professional athlete that could be like 5 to 7. So you really have to, be disciplined and have exercise and rest and downtime, because you need to be peaking for a lot longer than a professional athlete would. So it's kind of interesting to think that way. And I do agree with that.
Yeah. So self-care is a huge part in that. Out of interest. And so, what do you do to look after yourself and make sure you're at the top of your game?
Well, I make sure that I think Americans don't get enough rest. And I think that it's super important. Like, I go to bed super early. I will go to bed sometimes at 8 o'clock. I'll go in bed and read. I exercise every day. I wake up. I'm very disciplined with the time I, eat and go to sleep. I woke up this morning at 6. I wake up and have a green juice and water and supplements. And I meditate at night to calm my brain down a bit. And I try to have some fun and laugh during the day, whether it be with family and friends or at work. But I think it's really important to have some quiet alone time. I live on the water near San Francisco, so I'm very blessed to be able to go out on my deck and just kind of chill out for a bit, looking out at the water at the end of the day or sometimes in the morning. And I hike a lot. I think being outside gets you grounded and gives you time to think. Having a lot of alone time, especially when you're running a business and you're running at a high level, I think is really important. You can't give I have an energy healer I work with in Canada, and she always says you can't give a bag of oranges unless you have a bag to give. So it's really important. It's not being selfish, taking care of yourself. You're going to be a better CEO. You're going to be a better entrepreneur if you take the time to eat well, rest, just relax and have some fun. But when you need to be peaking and intense, you're there 100%.
Yeah, you touched there about hiking and I suppose the benefits of nature as well, and how restorative that can be.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's important. My sons, as we talked about, are both trying to turn pro golf, and they had a tournament up at Silverado this week, actually last week. Day one was 36 holes. It was quite intense, and it was over 100 degrees, but it was really fun for me to take half the day to go watch them play and go back and forth. Like, I would watch like 4 or 5 holes with one and then go to watch 4 or 5 of the other. But it really gave me some time to be outside and kind of ground myself and have a little, time with them, but kind of time with myself. And I think it's really important.
Yeah, it's very easy, isn't it, to get on the treadmill and just relentlessly keep working when you're that entrepreneur.
You can only work efficiently for so long before your work starts getting sloppy. And so it's better, I think, to just work intensely for a certain amount of hours and take a break. Go outside, get some fresh air, walk around for a minute, make sure you're drinking it. I drink a lot of water. I drink a lot of green juice. And I do take time during the day for a little bit of a break, because I think I work more efficiently when I'm having some time. Your brain can only handle so much before it starts just getting distracted. And so, and then also at the end of the day, telling yourself, okay, I'm going to work until 6. And then that's it. I'm going to have dinner. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to read. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to do something else. And I think that all makes you more efficient, but a happier person. I think when you're happy, when you feel loved, I think that you're going to do a better job in every aspect of your life.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think earlier in the year, I worked too much, if you like. And I suppose I was borderline sort of burning myself out.
Mm-hmm.
That was the reason. It was just letting boundaries just slip ever so gradually. Lunchtimes, breaks during the day would shorten, and then working a few extra hours in the evening. But yeah, we've learned that lesson. So
yeah, no, and they're all good lessons to learn. But it's, we try to keep, fit one more thing in. But sometimes it's not the best thing for anyone involved to keep adding. Sometimes we need to just take a break. And that's a good CEO, I think, learns to manage their time, but everyone else's time, and making sure that your team is taking time for themselves. I think a lot of companies now, especially here in the States, they're giving, money for their employees to go work out in the gym, to take a yoga class, because they know that they are going to have a better employee and a better team member when they're taking care of themselves. You can't run people ragged. They're going to burn out or they're going to quit.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Yeah, I agree with that one. So the name of the podcast is Demystifying Mental Toughness. Now, I wonder, what would your definition of mental toughness be in the business world as a CEO?
I think not giving up. I think it helped me when I played tennis, just being an athlete myself. When I was young, I played tennis in college and junior tennis. I turned pro for half of a second. I think athletes have an innate way of grinding and not giving up and competing and not being afraid to compete, and in hearing no, I don't care. I'll just keep going until I get a yes. So I think mental toughness is just relentlessness and not feeling bad about it. Sometimes timing is important. Sometimes situations and people are not the right fit for us, and the universe just kind of makes these things not happen. So I think it's important to just have faith that everything's going to work itself out, and to not give up and keep going set a goal and be really clear about your goal. I think, goal setting is super important, and staying focused.
So goal setting there, you touched on, I suppose, having a self-belief and real confidence, trust in your ability. Do you want to just explain to the listeners how you go about your goal setting process?
Well, I kind of set a goal for the week, and then for 6 months, and then the year, and then maybe 5 years. And I write them down, and I just try to, and then I also try to be a bit kinder to myself than I used to be. Before, if my company wasn't making a certain amount of money, if I wasn't getting things done the way I wanted, I really would beat myself up, which is pointless. It's not helping anyone. And I would never treat anyone the way I was treating myself. So a friend of mine brought that to my attention. She just said, why are you beating the crap out of yourself when you would never do that to anyone on the planet? It is not serving you well. And once I started thinking that, being kinder to me, things just kind of started flowing a little bit better. And working hard, what's that quote about the harder you work, the better your luck is? I don't say no. I still work as a makeup artist, even though I run my company and I have agents. And so when my agent calls, or a producer or someone calls about a job, I just say yes, because I am so grateful to be able to have an opportunity to work on a different team. And I need that creative outlet as a makeup artist. Running a business is, intense and hard and fun, but I like to be on set and I love meeting new people and I love to travel. And so it's a perfect balance for me. So I think if people can have, a business, I've told my kids, figure out what you love doing so much that you don't mind not getting paid, and then figure out how to get paid, and then figure out where you want to be. I like to be kind of all over the place. I was in Denver last week working on a TV show for Fox. I went to LA for 6 weeks with Tyler Florence working on a TV show. And so I have found the perfect balance in my life, but I've created these opportunities. And I think that's what you have to do. Figure out what it is you want to do, and the sky's the limit. I don't think there's any dreams that can't be fulfilled. I did a makeup lesson for a teenager a few months ago, and she was so lovely. She came over and I taught her how to do some just basic makeup skills, and she just blossomed. And 2 weeks later, I got a note from her saying, I have to share something with you. I felt so great about myself after we met that I applied for this study abroad program in Prague for art, for photography. And I got it. I'm going to Prague. And she goes, you told me that I could get anything in life I wanted. And I just thought, oh my God, I'm so happy to hear that I inspired someone. But how great that, and she knew now that like dreaming and setting up goals for her future is just going to create such an exciting and dynamic life. We have to create these things. They're not going to create on their own.
Yeah, it sounds like you've very much got a can-do attitude, haven't you, towards your life and business and that.
Yes, I think I do. But I think that, again, as we spoke about earlier, I think that is in me. And I think having been an athlete, we are more aggressive. We are relentless. And so when things, not everything, we don't win every point. And so I think when things don't work out perfectly, and trust me, they don't always for me, I'm okay with it. I just know, like, okay, tomorrow's a new day and we're going to go in another direction.
Would you mind just explaining a little bit more about going back to the goal setting side of things? I'm guessing it's not just financial goals that you'll look at. You've mentioned there about traveling being important. Does that inform part of like some of your goals as well?
I think I am an artist at heart. And so for me, I need to have this creativity outlet. So on Sunday, a photographer friend of mine came over with this model, and we did a photo shoot on top of my roof overlooking the water that was just amazing. But it was important for me to be able to express myself artistically without any boundaries that I get sometimes from companies. If I work with a fashion house like Gucci or Louis Vuitton, they're very specific on what they want, or a TV show. I can't really go crazy. And so it felt really good for me to be able to have that outlet. So this week that I'm doing interviews and I'm working on my company, I feel balanced because I had that piece of that artistic outlet that I needed. And so I think that helps me with my goals when I kind of have a different outlet. I like the balance of both. I don't know if everyone does, but for me, having that artistic outlet, but then having the discipline of the business outlet, that works really well for me.
Yeah, as you say, I suppose everybody is different in the way they approach things, and that works for you, which is absolutely fantastic.
I think you have to know. I think you really need to spend time with yourself and really figure out what it is you want in life, and to figure out what makes you happy and brings you joy. And so I'm really clear on the things that bring me happiness and joy in my professional life, and I think that's really important. Sometimes people hate their job, and nothing drives me crazier than hearing people complain about their job. They hate their job. They hate where they live. They don't like the relationship. Then change it. You're the only one that can change that. And I don't feel that mistakes are failures. I think that they're bumps in the road that we learn from. They're lessons. And I think the failure is not trying and being stuck and being in a crappy relationship, a yucky job, and a place you don't like to live. And I don't know why people are like, oh, well, what happens if I fail? Well, what's going to happen if you continue failing and living in this muck?
Yeah.
There's no, I don't think there's a failure in trying.
Yeah. I wonder if that boils down to fear. That they're frightened to, well, fear.
I saw this great quote and I love it. It said, it was like, what if I can't fly? What if I jump off this cliff and I can't fly? And then what if the quote was, but what if you soar up into the clouds? And that's kind of how I try to live my life, thinking like, I'm going to soar. I'm not going to sit here and fall off a cliff. So that would mean failure. And I don't believe in tragedy, tragicness. I just think like failing is not having a clear goal and not taking steps towards that goal.
Yeah, clearly, when you're talking there about failure, the important thing is it's being able to learn from these different outcomes, isn't it? And the way your perception is of that particular outcome. So on another podcast that you've recently recorded, I noticed, which linked to your personal life, there was a note there saying, I've had tragedies, yet my life is not tragic. Are you comfortable to explain a little bit more about that to the listeners?
Yes, of course. So I was married to Ken Flach. He was the former #1 doubles tennis player in the world with Rob Seguso in the 80s and 90s. And they won Wimbledons and they were on Davis Cup and won a gold medal in Seoul. And so my husband passed away from sepsis in 2018. And so after that, I started the Sepsis Alliance contacted me asking if I'd be willing to raise awareness for sepsis. And I said, yeah, I would do that. And I then started a foundation, an educational fund at the Northern Lights School in Ken's name. And then my son, Bo, had passed away. It'll be 16 years this December from SIDS on Christmas Day. So I had set up those 2 educational funds. And then there's this garden at the Edna McGuire School in Mill Valley, California, named after my son, Bo. It's an outdoor classroom and garden. And I am very passionate about nutrition and education. And so I feel that if children are exposed to healthy eating habits from a young age and planting a garden and picking, vegetables and cooking and doing science experiments, so they're going to be much more open and inclined to having healthy eating habits and an open mind and heart as they grow older. So the interview that you're referring to, I was on the Doctor Channel speaking about sepsis and my husband, and I was waiting to get on, and the woman was introducing me, saying, that I'm a makeup artist, I'm a CEO, and I'm a mother, and and then she said, and she's had the most tragic life. And I was so offended and appalled that anyone would look at my life as tragic, because I have had a million miracles, a million blessings, and incredible things in my life. And yes, I have had tragedies. My mother passing away, my son, my husband, my business partner. They were definite tragedies and very hard to swallow. But to me, my life isn't tragic at all. It's just not. I am happy. I'm successful. I'm loved. And to me, someone that has a tragic life is laying out on the street, homeless, doing drugs. And I'm nowhere close to that. So
well, firstly, I'm sorry to hear about your husband and your son there and business partner and mum. What would you say has been like a big help for you in order to remain positive and, as you say, to be happy now?
I think my daughter, Melania, that lived in London, came home from London after Ken had passed. And she came into my office and said, Mom, because I was really foul at that moment. She said, you have to be grateful for the time that you had with Ken, because after Bo died, you were so sad, you weren't yourself, and he made you laugh again. He made you smile. He made all of us happy. And so we have to be grateful for what we had and not what we don't have. And I think we're not guaranteed anything in life. We're not it is a miracle when you find someone to love and adore, but it doesn't mean you get to keep that person for 75 years. It would be fantastic if we could, but that's just not how things work out. So you really do have to be grateful for the love that you had, and hopefully find love again and be happy. But I think my children, I have 4 other children that need me. And if I go down this dark rabbit hole of miserableness and anger, it's going to affect their lives. And I don't want them to be, sadder than they already are from these experiences that they've endured at such young ages. And so it was super important for me to be extra disciplined after Ken passed away, and not get too hungry, not get too tired, not get too thirsty, make sure I exercise, think of things I'm grateful for, and know how much love is in my life from my family and my children and my friends. I'm very blessed, and I really had to focus on that. And of course, you have hard days, sad days that you're sad, and you wish your loved one was there. But again, you have beautiful memories, and there's other things in life that bring me joy. My work brings me joy, my children, my family. And I found someone else that I love now, and I'm very grateful for that. I feel like Ken actually sent him. They're so similar in so many ways. It's crazy. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I think it's important. I don't think you're honoring your loved one by not loving again, by being miserable. How I had imagined, I was on a hike one day, and I could hear my husband saying to me, I hate looking down on you sad. I can't comfort you the way I used to. And I just thought, wow, how would I feel if I was looking down on my kids or Ken and they were sad and I couldn't comfort them and they were miserable? And it would make me so happy to make that they're living their best life and they're living their dreams and happy and loved and laughing. No one wants. So if you think of it from that perspective of them looking down on us and us being miserable, that's not helping. That's not making them happy.
Most definitely. Obviously, a big thank you for sharing that. But personally, I lost my wife. Where were you talking about? It was 2008 to cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and I had about a 5-year run where there was just one death after another in the family, and I found that very difficult as well. But yeah, I mean, now I'm remarried and got 2 children and very happy as well. And yeah, I suppose one thing that stands out from what you were saying is that the whole thing about thinking about the memories, the special memories, and as you say, being grateful for the small things in life, really. It's so important, and it is very easy.
It's so funny that you say the small things in life, because to me, I've learned, and I'm sure you think the same, these small things are actually huge. They're not small. They're huge. But I think until you've had loss like you and I have had, you don't realize that being able to walk your daughter to school or, having these special moments are monumental.
Yeah, and a nice sunset or...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I know with the lockdowns when COVID came in the UK, that it felt like a very similar sort of process for myself, where things were very much out of your control, and and like, I don't know exactly what the restrictions were for yourself in the States, but for me, we could leave the house for 30 minutes and have some exercise, and that was it. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, that's worse than here. I'm very lucky. We were able to be out. I could go outside all day on hike. I could be out as much as I wanted, but I'm out in the country. But the restrictions were not like that in the city. There's no way they could monitor people for 30 minutes. But I had a girlfriend that was living in Paris, and she told me the same thing, that they had to be in the house with the doors locked at 6 p.m. And there were huge fines if they weren't. And I thought, my gosh, sounds like Nazi Germany.
Yeah, it was difficult. The point I was going to make for myself, that 30 minutes of exercise was vital, and I must have hundreds of different routes I could go on a walk or a run on, which I didn't know existed. And again, just looking outside. What
would they do? How could they monitor that 30 minutes?
Yeah, I'm not so sure they could do, to be fair.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you stuck,
I think that I'm not political, and I don't I don't like to talk about politics much, but I do feel that such unbelievable detriment for mental health just became out of hand, with people being locked up, their businesses not being able to work. I think it was so sad for children not going to school. I mean, whole thing is crazy. And so I do feel that hopefully maybe people really realized how important it was to get outside and get fresh air and exercise, because it really does make a huge difference. It's so amazing. I could be sad or feeling like I'm funky, like in a weird thing. And I'm very lucky. I live right on a trail, and I will just go out in the dirt for 45 minutes and do this loop around my house. I come back, it's like everything's fine again.
Yeah.
But that's how I've learned to self-soothe. I think it's really important as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, as anyone, to figure out what you need to do to feel your best so you can give your best.
Do you tap into support to be able to bring that awareness? So mentors or coaches or anything?
I have girlfriends, and I call them my wives. And sometimes I'll go on a hike. They're all over the world, my girlfriends. And so I will just put my headphones on and I'll go out on a hike, because all of us have that in common, that we, at some point in time when we are together, we always hike. And so sometimes we'll that one of them will be on their hike somewhere and I'll be on my hike here, and we'll just go out and do our hike and talk on the phone. So that's something that really I'm very grateful. I have these extraordinary women in my life that are so wise and understand me and know me so well and talk me off my ledge sometimes.
Yeah, that social support is vital to say the least. So
it is.
Yeah. So as we begin to wrap up there, do you have 3 key takeaways from our conversation for the listeners?
Well, I think learning to take care of oneself, to be your best, to get rest, to set goals and dreams, to achieve, and not be afraid to try. There are no failures and there are no tragedies.
I love those. Very, very, very positive. That's what I like to hear. Whereabouts can the listeners find you, Christina, if they want to reach out to you?
Yes. If you want to see my makeup artistry, you can go to ChristinaFlach.com, and my makeup website is prettygirlmakeup.com.
Brilliant. Well,
and I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and Christina Flach Makeup on Instagram, and Pretty Girl Makeup is PrettyGirlMkup. And thank you so much for having me today. This was really, really lovely.
Yeah, no, again, thank you as well. All of the websites, the social medias, icons and platforms there, I'll pop into the show notes. So yeah, much appreciated for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. That was a really insightful episode to record. And I'm really grateful that Christina was able to talk about her husband, her late husband, Ken, and his tragic death, as well as the aftermath and how she managed to cope with that. I imagine it wasn't an easy thing to discuss. One thing I would like to pick out from this episode is the thing about self-care. Self-care is used quite a lot. It's a word bandied around a lot these days. And certainly when I look at sport, which obviously is a big part of my work, I see athletes and coaches who are really poor at self-care. They find it really, really difficult just to sit down and relax, certainly the right way, and do the right things. So on that note, I'd like you again just to take 1 minute, 2 minutes to think what it is that you could do a little bit better when it comes to self-care. Could you get to bed earlier at night? When you're training, just take a step back from time to time so that you can be fully focused and really energized when you go about your business. And then likewise, when you compete, what the gains would be if you did have a little bit more clarity. Give it some thought. And feel free, if you wish, to email through to me at info@sport-excellence.co.uk. Email me through what it is that you do to look after yourself and prepare yourself better. I'd love to know people's thoughts there. Have a fantastic week ahead. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sport psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.